Hey there, and welcome to a deep dive. One that I think is really going to have you reaching for a glass of something delicious. Today, we're going to be uncorking the secrets of Corvina,
Ooh.
a grape that's really been making waves, in the wine world.
Yeah.
Our mission is to give you a well-rounded understanding of this superstar,
Ah.
from its intriguing history and its very unique personality,
Yeah.
to the amazing, diverse wines that it produces. We've got some pretty fantastic sources lined up.
Yeah.
So get ready for a journey that's going to be filled with surprising facts
I love it.
and hopefully some inspiration for your next wine adventure.
I think what makes Corvina so fascinating is it's a grape with a story.
Yeah.
It's not just about the wine.
Right.
It's about history. It's about culture. It's
Yeah.
about the passion of the people who've been crafting these wines for centuries.
And speaking of stories,
Yeah.
the name Corvina itself is quite intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
It apparently means crow in Italian,
That's right.
which might seem a bit random at first.
No. Not random at all.
Okay.
It actually refers to that deep, almost black color of the grapes.
Okay.
Picture a murder of crows descending upon a vineyard.
Wow.
That's the kind of intense dark hue that we're talking about.
So it's almost like a visual metaphor
Exactly.
for what you're going to experience.
And this grape has deep roots, too. I mean,
Yeah.
going back to the Veneto region of Italy
Wow.
since at least the 14th century.
So we're talking centuries of tradition that are flowing into every single bottle.
Absolutely.
But what I find really interesting is that while Italy is its home turf,
Yeah.
Corvina isn't afraid to kind of spread its wings a little bit.
It's a world traveler.
Yeah, it's gaining popularity internationally, particularly in Argentina.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think a grape that
Yeah.
thrives in, the rolling hills of Italy
Right.
would take to the high altitude vineyards of
Right.
the Andes.
Right.
But Corvina has proven incredibly adaptable.
Yeah, what are some of the reasons?
Well, I mean, it really speaks to the grape's versatility.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about where it grows. Corvina itself has some pretty unique features
Okay.
that make it a winemaker's dream.
All right, so let's get into the details.
Yeah.
For all of our learner listeners out there, imagine we're walking through a Corvina vineyard.
Okay.
What would we see?
All right, so you'd see these large, almost pentagon-shaped leaves
Okay.
with these beautiful toothed edges,
Really?
almost like serrated.
Wow.
And then there are the grape bunches themselves, medium to large,
Okay.
cone-shaped, and loaded with these gorgeous blue-black berries.
Oh, wow.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Corvina has thin skin.
Ooh.
Now, you might think, so what?
Yeah.
But that thin skin plays a huge role in
Yeah.
the winemaking process.
Okay. I am intrigued. Tell me more. What? Explain this thin skin thing to me like I'm 5.
Okay, think of it this way.
Okay.
The skin of the grape is where a lot of the color. The tannins and aromas are stored.
Ooh.
With thin-skinned grapes like Corvina,
Yeah.
these elements are extracted much more easily during fermentation,
Interesting.
which heavily influences the final character of the wine.
So it's like getting to the good stuff faster.
It's like a fast track
I like it.
to flavor.
And then there's terroir,
Mm-hmm.
which is a fancy way of saying
Right.
the grape's growing environment.
Exactly.
Yeah. Corvina loves clay and limestone soils
Yeah.
with good drainage
Mm-hmm.
and that perfect temperate continental climate
Yes.
that you find in certain regions.
Okay.
And wouldn't you know it,
What?
the Veneto region
Yes.
just happens to have hit the jackpot
They hit the jackpot.
in terms of ideal conditions.
Yes. Precisely.
Yeah.
The hills and valleys create these microclimates.
Oh, wow.
The Alps provide shelter from harsh weather.
Mm.
It's like nature created a playground
Wow.
for Corvina to flourish.
Meant to be there.
But growing this grape isn't all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
Definitely not.
Right.
From what I've read, it sounds like cultivating Corvina requires a delicate balance
Yeah.
of tradition,
Mm-hmm.
innovation, and a whole lot of patience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Traditionally, Corvina was grown using the Pergola Veronese system.
Okay.
Picture this picturesque rows of elevated vines,
Okay.
almost like they're reaching for the sky.
Wow.
This system maximizes sun exposure
Right.
and air circulation,
Mm-hmm.
allowing those grapes to ripen to perfection.
It sounds beautiful, almost romantic.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, the world of wine is always evolving.
Right.
And while the pergola system is still widely used,
Mm-hmm.
some growers are adopting more modern techniques,
Good.
like the Guyot system, which
Mhm.
offers advantages in terms of efficiency
Okay.
and disease management.
So it's a blend of honoring tradition,
Mm-hmm.
but also embracing progress.
Yeah.
But as with any agricultural endeavor, there are challenges.
Oh, for sure.
From what I've gathered, Corvina is susceptible to a whole host of villains.
Oh, yeah.
We've got fungal diseases, we've
Yeah.
got pests.
Mm-mm.
It's a constant battle to protect those precious grapes.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, for sure.
Yeah.
Mildew, powdery mildew mites, grape moths.
It's like a whole cast of characters.
They're all lurking in the shadows, ready to wreak havoc on a vineyard.
Oh, my goodness.
Thankfully, there are, responsible pest and disease control methods available
Yeah.
with a growing emphasis on environmentally friendly approaches.
Sustainability is key, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about protecting the environment and ensuring the long-term health of the vineyards for
Yeah.
generations to come.
Now let's talk about harvest.
Okay.
That crucial moment
Yes.
when all the hard work
Mm-hmm.
culminates in a beautiful bounty of grapes.
Yes.
I imagine ripeness is absolutely key
It is.
when it comes to Corvina.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Winemakers use a combination of their senses and
Mhm.
science to determine the perfect moment
Okay.
to harvest.
So they're going to look at the color of the grapes.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to taste them to assess the flavors
Yes.
and even feel them to gauge their texture.
That's right.
But they're not just relying on intuition.
No, they're not.
They're also using lab tests
Mm-hmm.
to measure sugar and acidity levels.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a blend of art and science.
It is.
And once those precious grapes are harvested,
Mm-hmm.
they're whisked off to the
It's a
winery,
winery.
where the real magic begins,
The transformation.
the transformation from grape to wine.
Exactly.
So let's break down that process a little bit.
Okay.
What are the key steps involved?
All right. So that transformation starts with a few key steps. Sorting the grapes
Okay.
to remove any that aren't perfect,
Yeah.
de-stemming them, and then gently crushing them to release their juice.
So it's all about prepping those grapes for the big shoot,
For the big show,
which is fermentation.
fermentation, that's
Yeah.
where the real party starts.
Okay.
Yeast is introduced
Hmm.
to the grape juice,
Okay.
and it basically throws a giant feast,
All right.
converting sugar into alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
carbon dioxide, and all sorts of other compounds
Oh, wow.
that contribute to the wine's flavor and aroma.
It sounds like a microscopic rave.
It kind of is,
Yeah.
and the winemaker acts as the DJ,
Right.
carefully monitoring the temperature,
Right.
adjusting the conditions,
Mm-hmm.
making sure everything is in perfect harmony
Yeah.
to achieve that desired outcome.
Now, I know there are some key differences
Yes.
between how red and white wines are made,
Absolutely.
what makes red wine making unique,
Okay.
especially when it comes to Corvina.
So with red wines, the grape skins are kept in contact with the juice
Okay.
during fermentation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is crucial for extracting color tannins
Okay.
and those complex aromas that we associate with red wines. And remember that thin skin we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
It plays a key role here.
Does it really?
It allows for even more efficient extraction.
Oh, wow. So it's like getting a double dose
Yeah.
of flavor and intensity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of techniques used during red winemaking that are worth mentioning.
Okay.
Remontage is where the wine is gently pumped over the top of the fermenting grapes,
Oh.
almost like giving them a little shower.
Oh, wow.
It helps to extract more color and flavor from the skins.
So it's like a spa treatment for the grapes.
It is.
And then there's the more hands-on approach.
Yeah.
Pidgeage.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Pidgeage is a traditional method where the winemaker literally stomps on the grapes,
No way.
break down the skins, and release their goodness.
Wow.
It's a bit messy, but it's been done for centuries.
It's still done today.
And it produces some incredible wines.
Wow. I can just imagine
I know.
the grape juice squirting between their toes.
You know.
It's a visual I was not prepared for.
But there's more to red winemaking than just fermentation.
There is
Right.
Okay.
I've heard about something called malolactic fermentation.
malolactic fermentation. Okay.
Right. This is a secondary fermentation
Okay.
that often takes place after the main alcoholic fermentation.
Mm.
It converts that harsher malic acid
Mm-hmm.
present in the wine into a softer lactic acid.
Okay. Break that down for me.
Okay, so think of it this way.
Okay.
Malolactic fermentation helps to soften the wine. makes it smoother and more approachable.
Mm-hmm.
It also adds complexity
Okay.
and can even impart buttery or creamy notes.
Interesting.
It's like giving the wine a little extra polish and finesse.
So it's all about layering those flavors
Exactly.
and textures to create a more well-rounded wine.
Precisely.
But with Corvina, things get even more interesting.
Yes, they do.
This grape is often used to make wines using some very special techniques.
That's right.
Like appassimento and ripasso.
And those techniques, they take Corvina wines to a whole other level.
Okay, I am so ready to dive into those.
You know what's really fascinating about these techniques?
Yeah.
Is that they're a testament to the creativity and ingenuity of the winemakers.
Right.
They're not content with simply making good wine.
Right.
They're constantly pushing the boundaries, experimenting and innovating.
Okay, so let's dive into those special techniques.
All right.
First up, appassimento.
Okay.
This one sounds a bit mysterious.
It is.
Almost like something out of an ancient ritual.
Well, it's definitely steeped in tradition.
Okay.
Imagine this after harvest. Instead of going straight to the press,
Okay.
the grapes are laid out on mats or hung in well-ventilated rooms to dry.
Really?
For several months.
Wow. Okay, so the grapes are basically sunbathing and air drying.
They're getting a little spa treatment.
What happens during this drying process?
So as the grapes dry, the water content evaporates,
Okay.
concentrating the sugars, flavors and aromas.
Wow.
It's like taking all the goodness of the grape and intensifying it.
So it's like making raisins.
It is.
But instead of snacking on them, you turn them into incredible wine.
Exactly.
And this appassimento technique is the secret behind the legendary Amarone della Valpolicella.
It is.
Yeah.
Amarone is like the king of Corvina wines.
Wow.
Rich, intense, and full-bodied.
Yeah.
With those incredible dried fruit spice and chocolate notes.
Wow, okay. I'm adding Amarone to my must-try list.
You must.
Now what about ripasso?
Ripasso?
This one sounds a bit like a dance move.
It does have a certain rhythm to it.
So explain this one to me.
So ripasso is a technique where Valpolicella wine, which is already fermented, gets a second fermentation on the skins of the Amarone grapes.
Okay.
So it's like giving it a boost of power and complexity.
So it's all about infusing that Valpolicella with the concentrated flavors and aromas of those dried Amarone grapes. And the result is a wine that's richer, more structured, and has a longer finish.
Yes.
So it's like taking Valpolicella from everyday casual to like special occasion elegance.
I like that description.
But even after all this special treatment, the journey isn't over yet.
No, not yet.
Right.
Now comes the time for patience.
Okay.
Aging and maturation are crucial steps in the winemaking process, especially for those bolder, more complex Corvina wines.
And oak barrels seem to be a favorite for aging Corvina wines.
They're like little flavor factories, adding layers of complexity to the wine.
So what do?
They impart tannins, those compounds that give wine its structure and grip, along with those lovely spice vanilla and toasty notes that we associate with oak-aged wines.
But it's not just about throwing wine into any old barrel, is it?
Absolutely not. Winemakers have to carefully consider.
What kinds of things?
The type of oak, the age of the barrel, and how long the wine will spend in it.
Oh, wow.
It's a delicate balancing act.
So it's almost like they're composing a symphony.
Yes.
Choosing the right instruments and notes to create a masterpiece.
I love that analogy.
And even after all that,
yeah,
there's often bottle maturation.
There is.
Where the wine continues to develop and refine its flavors.
Over time.
It's a long and dedicated process, that's for sure.
It is.
But now let's get to the good stuff. The wines themselves.
Yes.
I feel like we've taken a scenic route to get here.
We have.
But it was well worth the journey.
But worth it.
Now let's take a virtual trip to the Veneto region.
Okay.
And explore the diverse styles that Corvina offers.
Right.
I feel like there's a whole spectrum of flavors to discover.
There is.
From light and refreshing to bold and complex.
We've got something for everyone.
Okay.
Whether you're a seasoned wine enthusiast or just starting to dip your toes into the world of Italian wines.
So let's start with Valpolicella.
Okay.
The gateway to the Corvina experience.
It is.
What can our listeners expect from this style?
Think of Valpolicella as the friendly face of Corvina.
Okay.
It's typically light-bodied, bursting with bright red fruit flavors, cherries, raspberries, strawberries, with a touch of spice and a refreshing acidity.
So it's a wine that's meant to be enjoyed young and doesn't require years of aging to reach its peak.
That's ready to go.
So perfect for a casual weeknight dinner or a picnic in the park.
Exactly. It's a great everyday wine.
Now, if you're looking for something with a bit more depth and structure,
Yeah.
we move on to Valpolicella Classico.
Valpolicella Classico.
What sets Classico apart?
Classico comes from a specific subregion within Valpolicella, known for its higher quality grapes and stricter production regulations.
So it's like the Valpolicella that went to finishing school.
Exactly. Sure. So think more pronounced flavors, a bit more tannin and a longer finish.
Okay.
You'll still get those delicious red fruit notes, but you'll also notice some intriguing herbal and spicy nuances.
And then we have Valpolicella Superiore.
Yes.
The overachiever of the group.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Superior takes things up a notch.
Okay, how so?
It's typically aged for at least a year, often in oak barrels.
Okay.
Which adds complexity and structure.
So we're going to get those oaky notes.
Yes, you'll get those.
Okay.
Expect more concentrated flavors, darker fruit notes like plums and blackberries, and those lovely spice and vanilla hints from the oak.
Now for the main event.
Yes.
The grand dame of Corvina Wines.
Here we go.
Amarone della Valpolicella.
Ah, Amarone.
This is the wine that steals the show.
This is the one.
Right. It's remember that appassimento technique we talked about earlier? Well, Amarone is the result of that meticulous process.
It is a powerhouse of a wine.
Okay.
Rich, intense, full-bodied, and bursting with flavor.
Paint us a picture.
All right.
What does Amarone taste like?
Imagine a symphony of dried fruits.
Okay.
Raisins, figs, prunes, layered with spiced chocolate. Wow.
And sometimes even coffee or tobacco notes.
It's a wine that demands your attention.
It does.
It's not a background wine.
No, it's not.
It's something to savor slowly and appreciate every nuance.
Every sip.
It sounds like a wine for a special occasion, something to celebrate with.
Absolutely.
And because of the labor-intensive process,
yes,
Amarone tends to be a bit more expensive than other Valpolicella wines.
It's an investment.
Yeah.
But worth every penny if you're looking for a truly unforgettable wine experience.
And we can't forget about Recioto della Valpolicella.
Ah, yes.
The sweet treat of the Corvina family.
Recioto. This one is a bit of a hidden gem.
Okay.
It's also made with dried grapes.
Okay.
But instead of fermenting all the sugar into alcohol, some sweetness is left behind.
So it's like a dessert wine.
It is a dessert wine.
Imagine a beautifully balanced sweet wine with flavors of dried fruits, honey, caramel, and spice. It's often served with dessert. Or even as a dessert itself.
It is. I'm already imagining myself sipping a glass of Recioto with a plate of biscotti.
Sounds perfect to me.
And last but not least, we have Bartolino.
Bartolino.
The free spirit of the group.
Bartolino is all about lightness and refreshment. Typically made with a blend of Corvina Rondinella and Molinara grapes.
Right.
It's known for its bright acidity, juicy red fruit flavors, and a delicate floral aroma.
It's the kind of wine you can chill slightly.
Yes.
And enjoy on a warm summer day.
It is.
So it's like the perfect poolside companion.
It is a great wine to have on hand for casual gatherings and light meals.
So as you can see,
yes,
Corvina is an incredibly versatile grape.
Absolutely.
That can produce a wide range of wines to suit different tastes and occasions.
Something for everyone.
I'm already feeling overwhelmed by all the delicious choices.
I know.
And we haven't even talked about food pairings yet.
I know.
But before we get to that, I want to explore something you mentioned earlier. Corvina's ability to play well with others.
You're talking about blending, right?
Yes.
Corvina is a team player.
It is.
It loves to collaborate.
Tell us about its traditional blending partners in the Veneto region.
Well, two grapes come to mind immediately.
Okay.
Rondinella and Molinara.
And what do they bring to the table?
Rondinella is known for adding structure and herbal notes to the blend.
Okay.
While Molinara contributes acidity and a delicate floral aroma.
So it's like each grape brings its own unique personality to the party.
It does.
Creating a wine that's more than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
And Corvina isn't afraid to venture outside its Italian comfort zone either, is it?
Not at all. It's a global citizen.
Yeah, it is.
Some winemakers are experimenting with blending Corvina with international varieties.
Like what?
Like Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot and Shiraz.
So there are some out-of-the-box Corvina blends out there.
There are.
Now let's talk about the thing that gets me most excited about wine.
Okay.
Food pairings.
Food pairings, yes.
I have a feeling Corvina, with its diverse range of styles, is quite the versatile dining companion.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Corvina is incredibly food-friendly.
So let's start with the classics.
Okay.
What are some traditional Italian dishes that pair beautifully with Corvina wines?
You can't go wrong with a lighter Corvina like Valpolicella Classico, alongside spaghetti alle vongole.
Okay.
That's spaghetti with clams for those who haven't tried this Italian delight.
And what does that pairing bring to the table?
So the wine's bright acidity and fruity notes cut through the richness of the pasta.
Okay.
And complement the delicate flavor of the clams.
It sounds like a match made in heaven.
What about for a heartier meal?
Yeah, what if we want something a bit more substantial?
For a richer dish, like risotto alla Milanese, which is a creamy risotto made with saffron, you could go with a Valpolicella Superiore.
Okay, and why that pairing?
The wine's greater complexity and structure stand up well to the boldness of the risotto.
Okay, and what about the king of Corvina wines, Amarone?
Amarone.
What are some show-stopping pairings for this one?
Amarone is a true culinary chameleon.
Okay.
It pairs beautifully with rich, flavorful dishes like braised meats, hearty stews, and aged cheeses.
My mouth is watering just thinking about it.
Imagine a perfectly cooked ossobuco that's braised veal shank alongside a glass of Amarone.
And for a vegetarian option.
You can't go wrong with Amarone and a selection of strong aged cheeses.
So we've covered Italian cuisine.
We have.
But Corvina can hold its own with dishes from other cultures as well.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
One of the great things about Corvina is its versatility. It pairs well with a wide range of international cuisines.
Give us some examples.
Okay.
What are some unexpected but delicious pairings that our listeners should try?
Well, Corvina's red fruit flavors and earthy notes make it a great match for grilled meats. Whether it's a classic American burger, Argentinian steak, or even Japanese yakiniku.
So it can handle both bold and subtle flavors.
It can?
And don't be afraid to experiment with spicy cuisines.
No.
Right.
Corvina's acidity and fruitiness can help to tame the heat and create a harmonious balance.
Now I'm thinking about a spicy Thai curry with a glass of Valpolicella.
That sounds delicious.
Corvina can also be a great match for earthy, mushroom-based dishes. Think of a creamy mushroom risotto or a wild mushroom ragu.
Yes.
Paired with a Valpolicella Superiore.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, I'm officially adding Corvina tasting and pairing experiment to my weekend to-do list.
Excellent.
But before we wrap up this culinary adventure, I want to talk about the future of Corvina.
The future.
Yeah. It's a grape with a rich history. But what does the future hold?
That's a great question.
What are some of the trends and challenges that you see on the horizon?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, as we mentioned earlier, is climate change. The Veneto region, like many wine-producing regions around the world, is experiencing shifts in temperature and rainfall patterns, which can impact grape quality and yields.
So how are winemakers adapting to these changes?
They're having to get creative and innovative.
In what ways?
Some are experimenting with different vineyard management techniques, like planting cover crops to help retain soil moisture, and experimenting with different pruning methods to manage vine vigor.
So it's all about working with nature, not against it.
Exactly.
And some winemakers are even exploring new grape varieties that might be better suited to the changing climate.
Right.
So it's a time of both adaptation and innovation.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about adapting to the environment.
Right.
It's also about adapting to changing consumer preferences.
Exactly.
In what way?
Well, consumers are becoming more and more interested in sustainable and organic wines.
That's definitely a trend I've noticed as well.
Yeah.
People are more conscious than ever about where their food and drinks come from.
Right.
And the impact they have on the world.
And Corvina producers are responding to that demand.
How so?
Many are adopting organic farming practices, reducing their use of pesticides and herbicides, and focusing on biodiversity in their vineyards.
So it's a win-win for both the environment
and
the consumer.
Absolutely.
And there's also a growing interest in wines with lower alcohol content.
Yes. The mindful drinking trend.
Exactly.
And some Corvina producers are experimenting with techniques to produce wines with slightly lower alcohol levels, while still retaining those vibrant fruit flavors and complex aromas that Corvina is known for.
So it sounds like the future of Corvina is all about balancing tradition with innovation and sustainability.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Corvina has a rich history, but it's also a grape that's looking ahead.
Yeah.
Embracing change and finding new ways to express itself.
You know, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the history and characteristics of Corvina to the diverse range of wines it produces and the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for this incredible grape?
I think what's really remarkable is that despite all the technological advancements and trends in the wine world, there's still a deep sense of respect for tradition when it comes to Corvina.
Right.
It's a grape that's deeply rooted in its place of origin. And that's something that consumers are really connecting with.
It's that sense of authenticity and connection to the land.
Absolutely.
That makes it so special.
It does.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on something we haven't really talked about yet.
Right.
The art of tasting Corvina wines.
Tasting is really where all the elements that we've talked about, the grape, the terroir, the winemaking, come together to create an experience for your senses.
So it's like the grand finale of the Corvina show.
Exactly. So if you're ready to kind of embark on your own Corvina tasting adventure, here are a few tips to help you appreciate its unique qualities.
I'm all ears. I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of every sip.
Well, first let's talk about sight.
Okay.
When you pour a glass of Corvina wine, take a moment to just appreciate its color.
Yeah.
Depending on the style and the age of the wine.
Yeah.
It can range from a vibrant ruby red to a deep, almost inky purple.
So there's a visual element to the experience, even before you take that first sip.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there's the aroma.
Okay.
Gently swirl the wine in your glass to release those aromas.
Okay.
What do you smell?
Yeah.
You might pick up notes of red berries, cherries, plums, or even hints of spiced chocolate or tobacco.
Oh, wow.
Depending on the wine.
It's like a treasure hunt for your nose.
It is.
And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for the taste.
To taste.
Take a sip. Let the wine kind of coat your palate.
Yes.
Pay attention to the acidity, the tannins, the body, the finish. Notice those flavors of red fruit, spice earthiness.
Yes.
And even a slight bitterness from the tannins.
Precisely.
I'm starting to realize that there's a lot more to wine tasting than I initially thought.
There is.
But don't let that intimidate you.
No, no, no.
The most important thing is to relax. Enjoy the experience.
All right.
And trust your senses.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to taste wine.
No.
It's all about finding what you enjoy.
Absolutely.
And speaking of enjoyment, I'm curious about your personal experience with Corvina.
Okay.
What are some of your favorite Corvina wines and food pairings?
Oh, that is a tough one.
I know there are so many.
There are so many delicious possibilities.
I bet.
But if I had to choose, I'd say one of my all-time favorite pairings is Amarone della Valpolicella.
Okay.
With a classic Osso Bucco.
That sounds amazing.
The richness and complexity of the wine perfectly complements that tender, slow-braised veal shank.
Okay, I'm officially drooling.
It's a match made in culinary heaven.
What about a pairing for those of us who prefer a more casual setting?
Well, for a more laid-back experience, I love Valpolicella Classico.
Yeah?
With a simple pizza margarita.
Oh, that sounds good.
The wine's bright acidity cuts through the richness of the cheese and tomato sauce.
So simple, yet delicious.
It is.
And for a warm summer evening.
For a warm summer evening, you can't go wrong with a chilled Bartolino.
Okay.
And some grilled seafood.
Oh.
The wine's lightness and freshness complement the delicate flavors of the fish beautifully.
It sounds like you've truly embraced the Corvina lifestyle.
I tried.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What is it about Corvina that speaks to you on a deeper level? What makes this grape so special?
That's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
You know, for me, Corvina is a grape that embodies both strength and elegance.
I love that.
It can produce wines that are powerful and intense, yet also refined and nuanced.
It's a grape that challenges you to explore its depths and rewards you with layers of flavor and complexity.
I love that description.
Strength and elegance.
Yes.
It really captures the essence of Corvina.
And I think it speaks to the fact that Corvina is a grape that can be enjoyed on so many different levels.
Right.
Whether you're a seasoned wine connoisseur or just starting to explore the world of wine.
Yeah.
There's a Corvina wine out there for you.
It's a grape for every palate. And every occasion.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so special.
Yeah.
It's a grape that's both accessible and aspirational.
It can be enjoyed in casual settings.
Yes.
Or celebrated in grand style.
Absolutely.
It's a grape that truly transcends boundaries.
It does.
We've talked about Corvina's past, its present, and its future. We've explored its unique characteristics, the diverse range of wines it produces.
Yeah.
And the art of tasting and pairing.
We've covered a lot.
I think it's safe to say we've covered just about everything there is to know.
I think so.
About this fascinating grape.
I agree.
But as we always say, this is just the beginning of your journey.
Yes, it is.
Now it's time for you, our listeners, to go out there and experience the world of Corvina for yourselves.
Yes.
Visit your local wine shop.
Talk to the experts.
Talk to the experts, and don't be afraid to experiment.
Try new things.
Who knows? You might just discover your new favorite wine.
That's right.
And if you do, we'd love to hear about it.
Share your Corvina discoveries with us.
Share your Corvina discoveries with us on social media.
Yes.
So cheers to Corvina,
Yeah.
the grape that keeps on giving.
Absolutely.
And cheers to all of you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, happy exploring.
And remember, keep diving deep and